So if you want poof that your party is going to be a blast, you want to make these poofs. A lot of people call these pom-poms, but I like to call them poofs because that is just so much more fun to say. Poofs! To make the poofs, you just want regular acrylic yarn. You don't have to get fancy yarn. Acrylic's fine. You want your handy scissors. You want 2 round things to trace, 1 large and 1 small, and some cardboard. With the round things that you're going to trace, you are going to be making a pom-pom or a poof tool that looks a little something like this. You want 2 of them. Now, I started with one of the poof tools on my cardboard. I just used this jar, traced it, and then I took this bottle cap and placed it in the middle as best in the center as I could and traced it. Now, you want to cut those out. You want to do 2 of them. Cut them out like so. To cut the center, what gets a little tricky, just go in and cut around carefully and end up with something that looks like a donut with a bite taken out of it. Also, and I'll show you where this tool comes into play later, I just cut 2 circles about 2 inches across that are going to act as a kind of a guide to trim up our poofs. So now that we have our poof things ready, you want a length of yarn about 12 inches or so long. You're going to sandwich the yarn in between each of your donuts, like that. And this piece of yarn is going to be what holds everything together. You want to wrap your yarn around the donut like this, making sure not to tangle everything up like I will probably do. And you want to do this the whole way across the arc of the donut. It'll be a little bit tricky at first because you want to make sure that this is being held together pretty much lined up. So once you get the yarn wrapped around a few times and secure, you'll be fine. And like I said, you want to do that the whole way around with little gaps in between the strands. You could go back over it again if you want. The more yarn you use, the fuller your poof is going to be. Also, if you want to make huge poofs like these ones, use bigger circles to trace. If you want little ones, this is about the size. This is like 4 inches across. Once you wrap all your yarn around, you're going to end up with something like this. This is nice and full. And then here's the fun part. You want to get your scissors, and in between each of the donuts, you want to get your scissors in there, and then you'll have kind of like a groove or a track to move your scissors around. Secure the yarn and get snipping. It's like an explosion every snip. Be careful with the scissors because once you get in there, they might slip a little bit. The dangers of making poofs. Get that in there. This is when your length of yarn from before is very important. You want to hold it down. Make sure you're holding the yarn as much as possible and remove the donut carefully. Like that, sort of. Now you've got this little kind of haystack of yarn. Carefully make a knot, a very tight knot with your length of yarn. You can do a double one if you wish. I suggest doing it. Now we have this. Shake it out a little bit. This is starting to look pretty good. You can leave it this way if you want, tying the lengths together so you can hang it. These look pretty good, but if you want a more like a stouter, rounder, fuller one, you're going to trim it down, and that's when your little circles come into play. It's also good to have a box handy because this is going to get really messy. I sandwich the poof kind of flatten it down and sandwich it in between each of the circles, kind of like an ice cream sandwich. And with my scissors, cut the excess away. It's kind of like giving someone a bowl haircut. You cut around, giving this little guy a haircut. If you're going to hang them up on the trees like we did, don't cut the longer length of yarn. Take that off, shift it around a little bit. We're almost there. This is looking like it needs a few more snips. Like so. This is the kind of haircut that if you mess up on, it's still gonna look cute. That, and see how all these little bits, they're going right in the box so you don't have things all over the place. Mess it up a little bit. It's getting there. Poofs.